Hello, this is Donahue, and I'm here with Shaun at City Hall with Deputy Mayor Walcott, who oversees education and community development throughout New York City.
Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
When we first wrote to you, we mentioned that we were interested in making a contribution to the New York City social studies curriculum that would make local politics a larger component. Last week, however, the division that oversees the development of the curriculum was terminated. We've heard that this could make our job easier because principals will have more control over what is taught. But on the other hand, it feels like our work would have to be done school by school. Does this sound accurate?
Well, I'm not sure about the accuracy of that to the extent because we still have a responsibility to set broad mandates of the expectation for schools to follow different types of curriculum. And so I think there's a great opportunity still to encourage what should be included in the curriculum, especially when it deals with government and politics. I think people need to better understand at all ages the importance of government politics and shaping the direction of not just the city, but the country and the world itself. I think you as students have a responsibility to understand politics from an international flavor because we're an international world. And so I think there's opportunities both on a broad level but also on a school level as well.
Are there still other ways in which the DOE influences local curriculum?
Sure. I mean, we have people who are in charge of curriculum at DOE, and so they're responsible for monitoring the schools. And quite frankly, what's going on now is an increase in the overall standards in the schools. So we have staff there who are responsible for aligning themselves in the curriculum to the state standards. So we're teaching to the state standards itself, and then eventually the federal standards based on the president's race to the top legislation. So yes, there are people at DOE who are still responsible for helping shape the direction of curriculum.
Do you feel like there are other, more effective ways in which we should be working to engage New Yorkers in local politics other than through formal education?
Well, I think it's a variety of different tasks that have to be accomplished. One is through education. It's extremely important, the role of government, the history of government, and making sure that's taught through the school system. But I think being involved with local community-based organizations is extremely important as well. Block associations, tenant associations, I think all of those things have government and politics built into their structure. And so I think by just totally engaging at the grassroots level is also very important. And that also goes for parents and making sure they know the setup within a school and how one should influence policies within a school.
Do you think that the desire to learn about local politics should come from the education system from schools, or should it come about from personal initiative?
I don't think there's one answer. I think it's a combination of both. I think school plays a role in informing and educating students about government and parts of government, and getting them to think creatively about government, and also finding projects to get involved in like this, where they can meet with government officials and learn more about different workings. And I think schools can play an important role in trying to find internships in different government institutions, whether it's here at City Hall or locally as a elected official's office, so that way they get on the job experience what's going on. But I think it also has to be a personal thing as well. That's just something that the person is interested in. So I think it's school. I think school plays an important role in educating and helping students get a better grasp of what's out there. But I think it also has to come from the student as well.
At my school personally, it might be different from Donahue's school. At my school, it's politics is taught at a national and state level because that's usually what's heavy implemented on the regions. But personally, we're the matter of local politics is overlooked. People who aren't coming to the elections, people who aren't casting their ballots, people who don't know who their local representatives are, and I'm sure you would agree that local representation is important.
Yeah, I think where you're going is that I think schools also have a responsibility to teach about local government, about federal government, and how they really focus on that. I think it's also important for schools to lay out what's happening locally and get students to think about local government and the importance of local government in their lives. And I think we have a responsibility to do that. And I think the students who are interested in that also have a responsibility to search out based on that information and based on what they read. Because all you need to do is just read, whatever paper it may be, and you find politics and government throughout the newspapers, so that should serve as a stimulus as well.
So far, it hasn't been easy for us to convince people to care about local politics. What are some of the barriers you feel like we have to overcome to break through their apathy?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like in schools, people really would have an interest in local politics because it influences the budgets that take place in schools, the allocation of resources, and so to me, there's an important role for schools to play in teaching about local politics because it has a direct impact on what's happening with them locally as well. I think what you're doing now is making sure you question officials who are in different positions of government about the importance of the issue, and it challenges me as, say, a deputy mayor to go and talk to the Department of Education as far as exactly what's happening and why that's not a part of it.
Like probably at Donahue, I don't know how it is at Donahue School, but it is emphasized on the state and national level in my school. But for many schools, like I asked my peers and my friends, the local component that's already inside of the curriculum isn't being enforced, and it is at the end of the day up to schools to decide what should be taught in our schools. What's your say on that?
Well, we are firm believers, and I say we at City Hall, as far as decisions really should rest with the schools. We feel the principals are in charge of their building, and they know their building, they know what they want to accomplish. They also know the overall expectations and how they're going to be graded as a school around the standards that the Department of Education and the state and the Fed set. But they also have an individual responsibility on how they implement those policies and allocate dollars to support those policies.
And now that the divisions and the division of teaching and learning was terminated, how do you see the DOE coming into play in regulating or in controlling what teachers decide for what's being taught inside of the classroom?
Well, a lot of their responsibilities will be folded into another division, so I'm not worried about the enforcement part. I mean, even though the formal title has been eliminated, the enforcement of curriculum and monitoring standards will be there. So that I'm not worried about. There will be staff there to definitely monitor exactly what's going on.
I'd like to follow up on that because at my school, apparently, we spoke to our principal about enforcing a new curriculum or a new class into schools, but then the issue of money and budget came up. So what do you have to say?
Well, I mean, it's going to be tough times. I mean, we announced today is Wednesday, May 5th, and tomorrow, May 6th, we're going to be announcing the executive budget. We're going to be talking about what's happening with the budget itself. And so it's going to be a challenging time for schools. And I think, again, the burden rests with the principal on how she or he is going to meet their budget, but at the same time prioritize the direction they want that school to go to. And that's why I think it's even more important for parents and students to be engaged in their local issues connected with the school and how their budget, no matter how large or small the budget may be, gets used. And to me, that's very important.
Well, at my school, certain classes are required, such as art and music. So do you believe that some courses should be put aside so that more important courses should be, implemented in schools? Because at times like this, like you said, money is getting, hard to circulate. So shouldn't students be more involved in local politics so they will be more prepared for the future?
Without question. I mean, it's going to be tough decisions for the principal to make. And, a principal who likes to be really hands-on, I think has to be real hands-on during the next year or so on how she or he manages what's going on in their school and how they allocate the dollars that they have to deal with the type of classes. I mean, no class should really be pushed aside, but in an era of diminished resources, you're going to have to make some tough decisions, and that's up for the principal to make.
For part of our project, we have developed a blog where we publish voice recordings of local leaders stating why they value local politics. Are you comfortable telling us why you became involved?
Sure. I mean, one of the things to me that's extremely important is for people to try to make the city a better place. And through politics, it provides an opportunity to do that by setting policies and making sure those policies are in place that benefit the residents of New York City. And as a deputy mayor, there's an ample opportunity to try to give input and helping shape the direction of making the city, in this case, the schools, a lot better. I mean, we still have a long way to go to make sure the schools are performing at top level, but at the same time, I think we've come a long way, and I think that's the role that we have to play in becoming engaged in local politics to benefit the residents of New York City.
So thank you for your time and your participation, Deputy Mayor Walcott. Our team really does appreciate it, and we appreciate it very deeply.
Thank you. And my pleasure. And we wish you both luck.